Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Red Room Talk. You guys can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Jen. The Red Room Talk is a show about love, intimacy, and interpersonal relationships, including self, to erase different social stigmas. We are here to have candid discussions and cut through those stigmas to show that in the end, no matter your background, we all have commonalities when it comes to matters of the mind and the heart. Nothing is off the table in the Red Room Talk. Last episode, if you missed us, that's okay. You can find us on YouTube by clicking that link in my profile and subscribing. Last episode we did an artist spotlight, but for this week, for the season 8 premiere of the Red Room Talk, y'all, we are talking about attachment styles and their influence on relationships. We have an all-star cast. We have my beautiful co-host, Queen Essence, Uriah, if he's here, and Mel Bell. Let's find out how the panel feels about attachment styles. But please do stick around until the very end. We will need the audience's help later in the show, so do not go anywhere. Before we get started, all that I ask is you keep your mind open and your language clean. First things first, I'm going to let you in the box then to introduce yourself, and then we can get started. If anyone wants to jump in and join the conversation, you can do that too, because I think we need some more folks here. I think we're missing the one. So if you want to jump in and join the conversation, you are more than welcome.
Hi.
Hello, beautiful ladies.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey. Good. Queen, hello.
How are you guys doing?
Good. I'm excited.
Well, we have two beautiful ladies here tonight. It might just be the three of us, but that's okay, y'all. We roll with whatever happens here in the Red Room. But if anybody wants to jump in on the conversation, we're talking about attachment styles and their influence on relationships. So if you want to be in on the show, hit that plus sign right now, y'all. Now is your chance to be on the Red Room Talk, the best talk show here on the app. So make sure you hit that plus sign if you want to be in on that. But y'all, because we are polite here, I'm going to let the guest go ahead and introduce herself and let us know what she's got going on, and then we'll move on to my beautiful co-host. How you doing, Mobile?
Oh.
She's like, oh, that's
Sorry.
me? That's me? Okay.
I'm Mel Bell. I have not streamed on this platform for a while. I am a streamer on a sister platform, POF. Currently, I'm jumping back into the stream life. It's a really great source of networking and outlet, just to connect with a bunch of amazing human beings, and to have like a base board to do this virtually, because I feel like this is the future now, as everything is so virtual. So I'm super excited to be here today and talk about some really awesome things.
Awesome. Well, hello, beautiful queen. How you doing tonight?
Hello, ladies and everyone here. Thank you all for joining. If you are a new timer here, I am Queen Essence. New to streaming now, but an OG on the app. And I am actually, tomorrow is the first day. I will run my first stream about hair care, and I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to talk about, but every Sunday at 11 a.m. my time, which I believe is 8 a.m. Eastern time, we will be, or is it backwards? It's 11 a.m. you guys' time, and it's 8 a.m. my time. I'm sorry. We'll be talking about just different styles of hair, and that's usually a day where I have someone booked, so hopefully I can get some of those people to let me talk and show what I do. So yeah, tune in every Saturday here and every Sunday with me.
Okay. Well, I guess as nobody else wants to jump in, I am Jen and Juice. I am the host of this show right here, right now, y'all. You guys can catch me not only here on Saturdays at 10 p.m., but coming on February 18th, we'll be doing a murder mystery called My Bloody Valentine. These two beautiful ladies are also part of that. And that number one bubble, Wancho number, we put together a murder mystery screenplay, y'all. We will be doing that here on the app in his live. So make sure y'all hit him with the favor retail like a burrito, not now, but right now. And then normally on Sundays during that time, we do a show called Soul Food Sunday. If you don't catch us then, you can catch us on Tuesdays, also in his live for Wancho Snacks and Juice, y'all. So make sure y'all tap in with that. But I guess if nobody wants to hit that plus sign, we'll go ahead and get started and we'll rock with the three of us. How about that, ladies? All right, y'all.
I'm all over this.
All right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Anyone can hit that plus sign. I'm just saying. Let me reiterate that. You can hit that plus sign if you want to be a part of tonight's conversation, y'all. But attachment styles refer to the unique ways individuals form emotional bonds and connect with others. These patterns are influenced by early experiences and can shape how we relate to loved ones throughout our lives. Different attachment styles, such as secure, anxious, or avoidant, impact how we seek intimacy, handle conflict, and interpret the actions of others. Understanding attachment styles can provide insight into our relationship tendencies and help foster healthier connections with those around us. So, tonight, the first question is, what is
your attachment style?
Okay, she got it. So, what is your?
Are you asking me?
Attachment style?
Yep.
Oh, so my attachment style would probably be somewhere in between the anxious uh, type and then the type that's a little bit more repellent to it. I'm definitely, and it's weird because I wouldn't consider an insecurity basis, which is like the other one is more like very secure base. I'm a firm believer that like attachment styles don't just pertain to intimate or love related relationships. I feel like they start from at home, from the way that we have been loved and treated as such as children, and we end up creating those patterns with friends and family, and then we end up carrying them in an intimate manner. And I think they become more apparent in an intimate manner because then you are codependent in a certain kind of way, whether it's complimenting or bringing to the table, your feelings and your patterns like more highlighted, if that makes sense, because then somebody is paying attention, because ultimately that is how they choose, make the choice to make you a part of their lives and in what manner. So I would say it's a cross between both of them. Because I feel like I'm a very secure person, but based on other patterns, I definitely need more assurance, not security, to make sure that it's all on the same baseline. And I think it's hard when it becomes so foreign that once somebody does it without being asked, that you don't repel it. So I would say that I'm somewhere in that realm.
I think that was beautiful how you changed it from just being intimate and acknowledged the fact that some friendships have a certain level of intimacy. Um, I believe that my attachment style presently is secure, because I know that what I'm bringing is something worth having, and I'm confident in that. Right? I understand what package I am. I understand what type of person I need on the receiving end. And once they receive that type of attachment from me, hopefully they understand it, or we can come to common ground where we can understand each other and we can build off of that. Because a lot of times you get two people who have very diverse attachment styles, and it creates an incompatibility. And a lot of people like to ignore that because they see so much potential in the other party. But it doesn't matter how much potential you see in the other person. If two things don't latch, kind of like when a mother is breastfeeding, if the baby can't latch on, you have to find an alternative method, right? You don't necessarily go find a new mom, but you go find a different way to eat, or you find a different way to feed your child, right? But we don't live in an era, in my opinion, where people are just so open to change and compromise. So I would say that I have I mean, Don't get me wrong, I have some anxious sides of things because the fear of the unknown is there, but I would say I'm pretty secure.
Yeah, and that's why I think that like I don't feel like it's an insecurity basis. Like I said, I'll be honest, like right now, I feel like I'm more owning of like because I've always known where I stand, and I don't mean that in a smug way. Like I've learned to say like if I'm not enough, go find less. And it's not meant to be smug. It's more like I want the other party, whoever it may be, to feel comfortable in what suits them. I think we live in like a culture and a time where we can really pretty much be even at our most secure moment we can be very careless or not need the reassurance, but I feel like there is a an exception to that rule depending on the person that you're dealing with, which is why I said it's not always intimate. Some people can be very territorial with their friends, and if those things aren't assured, then they carry those on, in a relationship aspect. Because I feel like ultimately it's all relationship with your family, you're in a relationship with your friends. I think it just becomes like how transparent. I think like that's the word I would probably describe it as the best, is that like I'm in a point where it's more important for me to feel like I'm allowed to be transparent and for that person to be, because then they're complimenting, not filling a void, right? So I think like, but I will be honest, I feel like we're human and there's triggers within that I think that even when we get something very healthy, if it hasn't been patternized for a while, if you're not conscious of where you stand, we internalize it. We feel like I think it's very quick when somebody doesn't meet our needs or our expectations. We're so quick to point a finger, and it's more humbling to say, what role do I portray in this? Like, I could be the toxic one, right? Like, I could be what's not a compliment to this connection. And so then I think the attachment style can change. It kind of adjusts if you're not careful. And I think it just comes down with whoever we're attaching ourselves to, for them to have that open space of transparency.
Anyone in the audience can weigh in too if you want to hit that plus, but I believe that I like exhibit traits from multiple attachment styles. I'm able to form strong emotional bonds with others while also maintaining a sense of independence. I do value close relationships, but also appreciate my individuality and importance of personal space. But there are times when, like, some people might bring certain things out of me. I know that I definitely have the anxious for me because I've gone through abandonment. I've been through a lot of things, so I know that there's times when I do have that anxious attachment style. But then there's others times when I'm the avoidant, because I also have that sense of like hyper independence, and I had to like really grow out of that. Especially being in a relationship, that you have to realize like, being hyper independent and being in a relationship, the two cannot coexist. So I think I've really like changed attachment styles, throughout my lifetime, and I kind of take traits from each of them. Like I don't really have like one set attachment style. It really is kind of whatever is brought out of me in moments, how I feel. So I mean, I'd say that I pretty much have like a balanced approach, and it's not always going to be a good thing. Sometimes it's not a good thing, and you're like, okay, I'm being really needy right now. And then there's other times I'm like, no, I don't want nobody around me. You can just leave me alone. So it really, I'm not just one. I would love to just say, okay, this is it, this is me, and but I just think I'm one of those people, like, you just can't fit into one category or fit into a box. Like, I'm just kind of all over the place, or as far as how I'm feeling, or what someone brings out of me, as far as like, it could just be, even in friendships, like I might be like, and kind of push you away, or it might be like, okay, I really need you right now. So it really, like I said, it just depends.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like that's why it's like I mean I can only speak for myself, but I feel like there are certain people in my life I've worked really hard to break that cycle or pattern of not becoming so available because certain people, and I like to believe it's not from a malicious standpoint. I like to think of it like it's a faucet that's just dripping. And so therefore, and like there's no other water. And so like a smart person's going to drink from that faucet, right? They're going to sit there and like kind of suck out of it until you either turn it off all the way or, offer more, so to speak. And so I feel like some people, and if we're so lucky, we get caught in connections with people that allow us the transparency to say, like, I have these pattern, like these traits, and it's not to say that I don't feel validated. Like I said, ultimately, like I feel secure. I know what I bring to the table, but like I said, I think that it's just human, at least speaking for myself, that certain things will come out, and if we're lucky, we will surround ourselves with somebody that allows us the space to be transparent about those things and how we want to go about it, because those people will also have their own attachment styles. Some people are, I'm a person that can be like, I don't like to be intimate or affectionate with everybody, but with my person I require that. Like I don't like to be touched, but I want you to hug me, if that makes sense. Like, or you're like, I want my space.
Like, I want to be alone, but can you be with me, please? Okay, like,
right. But if you're not transparent and open and vulnerable enough with your person to state that, then just from the exterior, someone can just assume that you're not an affectionate person or that you are too clingy, if you don't state those.
yeah, and you really have to like kind of balance it yourself, because I know when I'm being like too clingy, like I have to be like, okay, dial it back, So it's like one thing I could say is like, for my partner is like, I think he knows that, because even there's time people like, what's wrong, and I'm like, nothing, and even though he knows something, he won't push, but because then he'll know I'll just come to him when whatever it is. So it's like, you know, I know when I'm doing it. I know when I'm being, avoidant, or I'm being too clean. So it's like I am very self aware. So it's like then I'm like, dang it, why did I do that? Because you really just know. You know when you're feeling what you're feeling, or what someone's bringing out of you. And it might not even be. It's not even their fault. It's just something that you're feeling in that moment. Like, okay, I know why I'm feeling it. It might be nothing completely to do with them. It's just whatever it is that you're feeling, and it might be something that triggered you from something from the past, and you're like, okay, now I'm feeling like I don't want nobody around me, blah blah blah. And then there's other times like I need everybody around me. So it's like, you just kind of balance out for yourself, like, okay, what are my needs right now? You have to be like, know for yourself what it is that you need in that moment. But y'all, if y'all are, say it again.
I wanted to ask Queen a question because I'm just overly observant. You said as of now, in this moment, I would say I'm in a secure attachment style. Would you say that it's always been like that? Do you feel like, I always wonder, like when we're in a secure attachment style, how much of it can come from like where we were at to begin with? And does it ever feel like you're losing that pattern because someone can mean more? If that makes sense.
I think that it has, well, I don't want to say I think, I'm trying to get better with my words this year. I want to be intentional. I know from my own experience, that's all I can speak from, or from, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I feel like when Jen was speaking, she said that she doesn't like to be put into really close friends, right? And she has a beautiful mind. But in my life, I had to learn how to compartmentalize, right? Because I took a lot of the way that I felt like all of my relationships were failing. I took it personal, right? I was taking all the weight and all the burden and all the accountability for the way that things ended. Oh my God, was I not pretty enough? Did the 5 pounds make a difference? Like, well, dang, I know that I probably didn't season the meat right that night, but is that what eventually forced a person to leave? Right. And then I cut all my hair off. Right. I was just tired of it. I felt like it had a hold on me. When I cut my hair off, it was such a grounding experience because you had to look at me and take me for what God gave me. There was no wig, there was no eyelashes. It was just me and my sparkling, compassionate personality, just ready to dive in and take it. And I even went as far as, well, I'm connecting with my friends. All of my friendships are lasting longer than my relationships. And I'm behaving the same way, and the only difference is the intimacy, right? I get on average in a month at least 3 friends to be like, I just really love you. I love you and thank you. And some of them even tell me, can you please never stop doing what you do? Can you please never stop keeping me on my toes? And I would love to have a connection, that type of secure attachment with a life partner. But I have to understand that the way that me and Jen connected had no intimacy. Do we sit on the phone sometimes and shed a tear together? Yes, but that physical contact of letting her physically into my body, I didn't do that. But I let her directly into my soul, and we're like this. So how am I like this with Jen in the same way that I would connect with my man because I would want him to be a friend? And the only difference is intimacy.
Yeah.
And there's no difference. You know what the difference is? Where that man came from. What is his attachment style? What were, like you said, the attachment styles in his childhood? What nurtured his attachment style today? And I had nothing to do with it. He was that man before I met him, right? And as a woman, as women, we have to internalize that hope, right? We need to find that fire that motivates us. Not always very anxious, right? I was in, and I had somebody I had a really big crush on tell me that his father told him that if he dated someone his skin tone darker than a paper bag was what he used. All we were drama, loud, aggressive, and we didn't want nothing but a bunch of babies. So because out of respect for his father, he would never date me, right? And I think that kind of stuck with me for a lot of years, me just always going into something with inferiority until I really started to look at the glass half full. Right? No, I don't have a successful relationship in the books. I don't. No, I'm not. I mean, I'm married on paper, but I don't see that man. I'm not with either of my kids' fathers. But I got friends I've had since we were in childcare.
See, and
I got people I can call right now that will who take a bus in the bar. So no, I was not like this all the time. I wasn't. I had to learn to be this person for the sake of myself.
and I used to feel the same way. I'm like, man, I've had the same friends for literally 30 years. Before I, got into my relationship, I would be like, I don't understand. How can I have friends for 30 years, but I can't do the same thing, with someone? I was felt like it was something I was doing, but like you just said, it's nothing that you're doing. It's the other person is like how you mesh or what they're actually. It's intent. It's intent.
I think it's
So,
a compliment to each other, right? Because I feel like
Yeah.
Queen was just saying, we carry it. Like, I'll be very transparent and honest. Like, very similar to Queen. Like, I'm very proud to say and blessed that I have some very big connections, and not just with women, with men too. Like guy friends that are like brothers. Like, never cross that line. Like I can go to and be like, I can count on them. There's no intimate aspect, there's no like that kind of vibe. And so it was really hard. But I will be honest also in that aspect that, and like in childhood, I felt like I could never even be relying on that. So that I think it was harder for me to break that cycle, if I'm being honest. Because even now, I feel like just overall, when you're talking about attachment styles, I can still consider a somewhat of a codependent, even attachment to like my mom. You know what I'm saying? Say that came from a different place. And how do I want to carry that? If I'm being honest, like in a relationship of, of making peace with like her. She played a role and had a role and a stance and what that looked like for me, but then like I now being conscious of it, I guess I can make the choice of like, do I want to break that, and how do I go about it, and I'll be honest, like sometimes I've been exposed to something so healthy, and to take the acknowledgement of like where my role of being repellent, and how do you choose to be repellent, how do you choose to sit there and mock like I'm pushing you away first, because I feel like everyone has a limit, even if someone loves you at their core, everyone has a limit, and I could say that person can sit there and try 2-3 times, and then I can say like, if you really loved me, and I feel like a lot of people in the world can be like that, when they come from that place of how much can you take to prove, and so I feel like there's so many aspects when you talk about attachment styles, like Queen was saying, potential, and like someone can be absolutely great, and the biggest pill to swallow is that they're not great for you or not great for you right now, you
Right.
know.
Um, so hold your thoughts. But if y'all are just pulling up, that's okay. We do have so much more to discuss, y'all. You can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just discussed what's your attachment style, but now I want to dig a bit deeper. I know you guys kind of touched on this, but the first attachment style is the secure attachment style. We're going to start off a little bit of positivity, you know what I'm saying? Positivity. But the secure attachment style, individuals with a secure attachment style typically have a healthy and balanced approach to relationships. They are comfortable with intimacy and can trust others easily. They tend to have good self esteem, are able to communicate effectively, and are not afraid of emotional closeness. People with a secure attachment style often have strong and lasting relationships where they feel supported and understood. So the next question is,
Can you identify and any specific experiences from your childhood that may have shaped your current attachment style?
Um, well, being that I can fall into two categories, I am very big on diving into this. That I've noticed it before. I think I've been more like more trying to break it down. Is everything is swept under the rug? Like it was very much like it's okay, it's fine, because I knew that I would overcome it. I knew that I was strong. It wasn't like a huge deal, right? Like at least I convinced myself. So I grew up in a household where we didn't. It was always like, we'll talk about it later. I'll tell you later. Well, this, and there was no later. So it was that constant need going into relationships or connections with friends to not have things left unsaid, and which came off as confrontational, because and so then the attachment style was like, I want to talk about it now, and necessarily getting caught with people that are more like, let's talk about it later, and that gave me such anxiety. And the fact that and so it came off as like needy, but it really wasn't. But then it was like, I want to talk about it, and then I would shut down, because it was like, again, that trauma would be like, once we talk about it, it came from a place of like, now you're opening Pandora's box and starting problems. You're choosing to be confrontational. So I'm going to be honest, like I'm still working on that aspect, like, now, of just acknowledging that and being like, you know what, I get to say, I don't want to talk about it right now.
right,
But I know myself well enough that like, I at least will offer, like, I will come back to it. And I think, for me, just in general, whether it's friends, or relationship wise, I'm still in the median of like what that looks like, because like I said, I grew up in a place where everything, we just didn't talk about things, and constantly seeking out, like with my mom, of like, I want to have this conversation, I need some form of closure, and just always seeking, always following, and bringing that in a relationship, right? Like it comes off as clingy because I want to have that conversation, and it has nothing to do with them, like the insecurity of it. It's just like, it's something beyond it. Excuse me.
Um, as far as anything specific, No, but
She's gonna drop out probably.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Oh, she froze.
had issue to attack in there.
Oh, there she went.
Should be back.
She'll be back. So while she's doing that, I'm gonna let her go ahead and fix what she needs. But I'm gonna I'll answer while we're waiting. I can tell you, like for me, we talked about things, but I very much was always seeking, and it mostly came, from my mother and my father, I guess. But my mother was like always my hero, and I think I always like looked for that validation that she was like proud of me, but it also my father was the same, so I think that's kind of where the anxious comes from, because I was always like seeking that like good job, or like that, the validation, you know what I'm saying? And not even just in that, but in relationships, because I was really a late bloomer. Like I didn't have my first relationship until I was like 21 years old, almost 22. And then so I always thought it was something that I was doing, or the reason why I, didn't find anyone. And and then not only that, but also what kind of developed that is like that, like want, or that fear, I guess should say, is that I wasn't like good enough. And so I think that's where like the anxious comes from, because I felt like, okay, well, they're just going to leave, because I had a lot of people who kind of just like gave up on me, or they would just leave when something got tough, where I was always like that go-getter. I was always there when the times got tough. But for me, it was like they were there when things were great. But when things weren't great, people kind of just weren't around. So that's where the anxious comes from, because you're like, oh my gosh, like I was always afraid to lose people. And I think the older I get, and I think the more that realization is that that's just life, that not everyone is there for forever. It's like the leaves on a tree. Some people are leaves and some people are roots. And I just started finally figuring out, like, okay, look for your roots. Don't worry about the leaves, because the leaves are going to fall away. So really I was just fearful of losing people, and that's where like that anxious part of me came. Just like I said, the validation, worrying if I was good enough, and those type things, and that's where that kind of came from. But then the avoidant part of me came from when people would leave, or people, I, that was the fearful part. I was like, okay, well, people just leave now, so I started getting used to that, and that's where like, okay, well, this is it. So it was like both parts kind of came together. Like I would be fearful of people leaving, and then when people would leave, I'd be like, oh, like, oh. But now I think the older I get, and the more I have like that realization, is where I'm gathering more of the secure part. Like, okay, this is just a part of life, and if people want to leave, let them. I don't know if y'all have heard that, but let them. That's kind of where I'm more, healing that part, or currently trying to heal that part, where it doesn't matter what people think or what people have done. It's you. It's what you do with it, and how you allow people's actions to like, to don't internalize that, I guess I should say. Go ahead, Queen.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry for it. It's
Oh, no
raining, so the
worries.
internet is
Listen,
terrible here.
no worries.
But in my home as a child, we were so forthcoming with information. Like I could go to my mom, my father, or my stepfather with anything, and we would like address it and go to, if it was a sibling that did it, or even like a friend. My mom would take me and my homegirl out, and she would be like, well, I think you guys got something to talk about, and I want you to know that I'm not on anyone's side, but I want you guys to, figure it out, because one, good friends are hard to find, and two, she always knew, like, eventually something's going to come to a time is going to come where she wouldn't be here, and she wanted us to know how to communicate, right? And so yes, like just having that kind of open door form in my home, it does create a lot of issues for me now, because I'm such a, hey, like, and I'm an apologizer. Like, you know what? I think something I said to you may have hurt your feelings, and it's not my intent. Or if I did hurt you, it wasn't from ill intent. And I always want my friends to know that, because I struggle with sugarcoating, right? I'm like dark chocolate. It's just, you're just gonna bite into it and you're gonna get what you're gonna get. And I'd rather someone get it passionately from someone with their best interests than for them to go out into the world and someone else tell them, and they're like, well, you've been friends with Dominique for 15 years. She never told you, or I'm like, I think you're wrong. And I think that this is going to create this issue down the line. So me having that, it makes it really hard for me to be compatible with the avoidant type of attachment style. Please don't avoid me. And be a part of my life when I'm unconventional, or it's not as
Highlighted.
Right,
You're not at your highlight reel.
When I'm not when my light's a little low, stay around. Because there's beauty in that too. You get to learn different things. And I think, like what Jen said, after having, 2 or 3 failed relationships, you kind of have that thing in the back of your head, like, well, they could just wake up and leave. Or are they going to leave? Or is this argument going to end it? So I found that a lot of the issues that I suffer with insecurities in are because they are insecurities that I had within myself. So what do they always tell you to do? Look in the mirror. I have to fix myself. Once I'm aware of that, and I'm not saying like, oh, I fixed this, it's good, so you can't say anything because I did the work. No,
it's an ongoing journey.
Yeah, it's an ongoing journey. I'm constantly learning myself. So I have to give other people not the benefit of the doubt. I don't like that term, but I do want to give them an honest chance to know that we can get through this. Like I'm okay with the hard part of it, because I don't know where they could have the same mindset as me or my old mindset and be like, oh, you know what, she gonna be temporary. I already know, because we had this argument over whether the cheese go on top of the patty or the bottom, and I just can't take it, So it's just no specific thing, but I think that definitely the way that my family molded us, it definitely puts a gray cloud over certain attachment styles with me, and me attaching myself in general to another being.
Yeah, and I can understand that, because like my dad was the opposite. My parents are divorced, so my dad and my stepmom were like, my dad's my rock, and I grew up in a time where everyone had the so-called stereotype daddy issues. I could never relate, and everyone had their mom and their superstar thing. And I might say my mom was horrible. I felt like it took me a long time to gain compassion and grace for her and realize that she played the cards the best way that were dealt to her in her time, and it wasn't my place to say otherwise, right? But that took me a long time. But coming from my dad, that was like the hype up of that expectation. I think even going in a relationship, like I said, that part at least saved me from never feeling invalidated as a person. I know absolutely always what I brought to the table, but like very much like yourself. But when it didn't work out, it was like, why? Because at least I had the other great connections to stand on. But like I said, and I think it goes beyond like working on yourself. I feel like it's also a mirror effect, and I think we should absolutely always be healing and working on ourselves. But it's also good to be conscious that you might also be in a relationship with someone that's working on themselves, and what that looks like, and not, and learning to be conscious and not pile it on ourselves, because we become our worst enemy. And in the same way that we hope to be lucky to find someone to be compassionate of our growing journey, that you are also, like you said, you're willing to give somebody not necessarily the benefit of the doubt, but the time and the space for them to grow, and to be conscious of like letting your person know, I see you're struggling, I'm still here. I'm struggling, I'm still here. I hate that 50-50 perspective, like, so to speak, for me personally, because I feel like that's very unrealistic. What if two people are at 20 and 20 and then you have 40? Where's the other 60? And to have a conversation of like, what does that space between us look like when we're both at 20 and we can't make up 100? And I think it's really being conscious of that, where you, and I think that depends on what you want to pursue in whatever relationship you're with. It could just be like, I just want to date, and that's okay. I know I'm not in that aspect. And to be honest and be like, what you want is perfectly acceptable. I don't want it though. Like, I can't be part of that. And then when you have that conversation, then say, what does this look like? And I feel like if you can't be transparent with someone to have that uncomfortable conversation, then you kind of have to go back to the drawing board and be like, where can I work on myself to be more open about something like that? Because it's your needs, not somebody else's.
Right. Well, when you hear that sound, y'all, that means we are at our hot seat question segment. Our hot seat question is left up to the fate of the audience. That's right. If you want your question to be featured on next week's episode, make sure you go to my profile, click that icon, and follow me on Instagram. And look out for that hot seat question post. Now is the time to enter in the comments who on the panel you want to answer tonight's hot seat question. Go ahead and enter now. Oh, she said Jen. Oh, it's the blasphemy. It's the blasphemy. Oh, we got 2 for Mel. We got 2 for Mel.
And 2 for Jen.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, we got 1 more for Mel. Oh, Mama, come on, be the deciding factor here.
Mel won.
Oh, we got a queen. What's Mama gonna say?
Oh no!
She gonna be the. Mama's gonna be the. What's the name?
Mel.
Okay, Mel. All right, we got Mel. Listen, on your first time, ain't nothing like the first time. All right, tonight's question is: have you ever had to admit you were wrong due to your attachment style?
Yes. I usually don't struggle with that part. I always make a joke. If anybody knows me, I always say I'm emotionally slutty. I'm not physically slutty. I wish sometimes I admire a good woman that's open about their sexuality, but I will admit I'm very emotionally open, so I have no problem to take accountability. I think I'm learning to how I want to approach that, and if everyone always deserves the feedback, sometimes silence is the best answer. Not everyone deserves that explanation because it's just invalidated, if I'm being honest. That's just my experience though.
See, and then that anxious in me, I'm going to say this, would get me in trouble because, especially in an argument, I want to talk about it right now. And it's not good though, because when you're upset, you definitely should not have a conversation. But in that moment, that fearful part of me is like, I'm going to make you leave because I've upset you or something like that. So I'm one of those that want to talk things out right now. Whereas, like, especially, like, growing up, like, I could say a lot of my brothers are one of those, like, we would get into an argument and then just never talk about it. And, okay, a year will go by and we'll talk again and just completely just be okay. Like, okay,
I'll bring it up.
We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to bring it up. We just still love each other and we'll just get over it. But eventually it always comes back to a head and you'll end up having to have that conversation. But I'm definitely one of those people that, like, I have to have the conversation. I have that need for closeness in the moment of disagreement because I always have that fear of, like, well, you're just going to leave or you're just going to, that's that fear, that anxiety.
Are you a listener or a responder? Honestly. Put you in the hot seat.
I'm going to be honest. I'm a responder and that's out of the fear. Because I feel like I have to defend whatever it is that is imperfect in me in that moment. Whatever it is that I've done, I take it very to heart when I do something or I've done something to hurt someone or I've done something that's wrong. I have to work on that. That is something I work on very hard because it's I take things very hard. Like if I miss a mark or I'm imperfect in a way, because I think I've always wanted that perfection in myself, and I think because I'm more of a hypercritical person on myself. Like, so if you tell me I've done something wrong, I've already said worse to myself. So it's like when you say it, it's almost like, okay, well, you just basically told me, the truth, what I already thought of myself. So it's like, that really, like, for me sucks because I'm like, dang, now you're just clarifying for me what I already felt or thought negatively of myself. So I'm a responder. And it's not because, like, I don't feel what you're saying is valid. It's more of I don't want you to think ill of me when I really always have good intent in my heart. Like I don't ever want to do ill on anybody. I have this like need for perfection in myself because I think I know that I'm capable of that. But when I miss a mark, it's like a big sore thumb sticking out to me for myself. So
No, I can understand that. I'm more empathetic to how someone is, like, if they're mad or hurting, I'm more concerned with why, like their pain. Or even if I know for a fact that I wasn't in the wrong, I'm just more concerned with like what feeling that portrayed for them. But I'm also learning as I'm in my secure moment of being conscious that some people, if you allow them, are also working on their journey. And if you enable that behavior, it's also, but, I guess it's a learning process. Like Queen says, we have to constantly be conscious that there's no ending point, unfortunately, with loving and healing within ourselves. It's an ongoing thing.
But if y'all are pulling up, that's okay. You guys haven't missed much, y'all. We still have a lot more to discuss. You guys can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Red Room Talk.
Saturday.
We just discussed what is your attachment style. Can you identify any specific experiences from your childhood that you may have shaped your current attachment style? Then we just did the hot seat question. If you missed it, I'm not telling what it was. You're going to have to catch it on YouTube. Go click that profile and subscribe. But now I want to talk about relationships. Yes, we're going to get a little bit deeper into relationships. My attachment style, mostly anxious, preoccupied attachment style. Individuals with an anxious, preoccupied attachment style often feel a strong need for validation and reassurance from their partners. They seek constant closeness and have trouble trusting others. They may worry about abandonment and may exhibit clingy and dependent behaviors in relationships. People with this attachment style often struggle with fear of rejection and may experience higher levels of anxiety in their relationships. With that being said, the next question is,
how does your attachment style affect your ability to trust and open up in romantic relationships?
Currently, I just think trusting myself more at face value, of owning up to what I know is a fact. It just kind of, I think it's more of an emotional understanding, acceptance. I'll say that, an acceptance of, I know where I stand. I think it's really easy. I'm very big on affirmations and speaking kindly to myself and things like that and sharing things like that. But I think to take them into practice, to live it out loud, so I'll be honest, like, I recently got a relationship where I felt like it was the healthiest point. But I feel, and I could be wrong, I feel like a lot of it was that there was so much transparency of what I needed to gain security. And so the constant need of like over complimenting and over, the over the top. And it was really, and that's where I mean, like, that's where I had to play my role of like, now this person is doing consciously what is right, what is considered healthy, what I wanted, and sitting in comfort of that. I know it sounds dramatic, but almost becoming like a little repellent to like the happy stance. Like, where's the expiration? What's, and it has nothing to do with me. And I know what I bring to the table. I know I'm worthy of it all, but to like portray that emotion outwardly of, I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It's like you're waiting for the other shoe to fall. Like, okay, this is all great right now, but
sense.
where's the kicker?
Right.
What's the catch?
Yeah,
I definitely agree with you. It was very understandable. I think so.
have you, not to turn the table on you, Queen, but I am intrigued with everybody, and I love getting an input from everybody because, like, to me, I love these talks because it's like a learning, like, healing thing within a group. And for the chat, so you said that you grew into this pattern. Do you feel that you had an opportunity to practice being in such a secure moment right now, and what has that looked like?
Yes, actually. It has helped me. Um, it has helped me identify certain signals that in the past I probably would have overlooked. Um, and again, not that I'm perfect or anything like that, and I'm not looking for perfect, but I am looking for comprehensional communication, right? And understanding that either of us aren't perfect, understanding that every day, like you said, we're not going to have 100%. We may not cumulatively have 50%, but having that trust to know that no matter the percentage, you're still going to hold me down, you're still going to love me. Like, I had that, right? Or at least at face value, I thought I did, you know. And I felt like, you ever just felt like you'd done all the work, you were in a great space, and you were being honest and you were being genuine and you showed everything, and it just still wasn't enough. Now I can look at it and say, honestly, I don't like the way we handled that as a unit. So can you let me know how you felt about it? And then maybe we can figure out how not to have. I don't know how you feel, but once they tell me how they feel, and if they feel kind of the same, or if they felt a little low, like we were low vibrational in handling a matter, can we figure out how we can avoid this again? Because, like you said, in your family, things get swept under the rug, right? And eventually you sweep so much stuff under the rug that those things tend to start poking back, right? Like, we can't take it. Remove me from under here. I'm suffocating holding your burdens, right? I don't want that type of connection with a person, right? You said something earlier that triggered me. You said, how much do I have to, how it was like, how much do I have to prove, or how much am I supposed to take before you understand that I'm here, right? I never want my love for another person to be measured by how much
You're able to
trauma
tolerate,
I can handle,
right? Just because
right?
you can.
You know,
Yeah.
right? And I am a firm believer that people make time, they make space, and they make compromises for the things and people that they hold dear or that they don't want to lose. Right?
Amen.
So
Yeah.
it's not like a one strike you're out type of deal, but I do feel like, if nobody else on this planet knows how much money you got in your bank account, so how much money you can spend. And when you hit that limit, you know the repercussions of the overdraft fee or the account close, or you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
me knowing that, if I know I have $100 and I go to spend 200, I know that I owe, right? And I wish people looked at like actions and consequences, or actions and reactions, the same way. If you take me there, or the potential of taking any person there, creates a variable unknown.
Your emotional bank
If
account.
you mean what, if I mean what you say I mean to you, hmm if I
Yeah.
mean what you say I mean to you, protect that overdraft, brother.
Exactly. I agree. I mean, I was actually talking to Jen, like we were talking about topics and this, like, in like my topic that I suggested comes into this mode of, like, then for me at least, I look at, um, what was it? It was, what was it? It was chemistry versus
Compatibility.
compatibility. And, which source becomes more important, because I feel like I could be honest for myself. I can feel like I've had lots of chemistry driven, because I know that I'm a very charismatic and bubbly person, so we can make it work. We can fake it to make it. We can laugh. We can find each other attractive. We can have so much fun. But I think it comes down to like for me, it's the compatibility is important. How do I see you? I'm more conscious now as I grow older of watching my partner, and just even watching how they treat others. And that takes so much into account, things of like, what was their relationship with like a mother? My dad used to, maybe it's wrong. It was a little bit of a thing but I've always carried with me. My dad used to always say, no matter what your mom is, if a guy can't even treat his own mother with respect, I assure you he will never have it for you, because his mother could be anything and everything, whether for the good or the bad, but that's like who brought him here. And I hate to tell you, like, maybe it's just been a coincidence, but I've always held it to heart. And it's true. Like, there is always something there. Like, 'cause it could be a coincidence, right? Like, I feel like we carry those energies too when we believe in something so strongly. But like that being, and I think, like I said, it becomes like one of those like word bubbles, like this connects to that and that connects to this. So it becomes, like you said, we have to look outside the box. We take such value on material things. Why don't we treat ourselves like an overdraft protection? And it's hard. And it's hard when we are who we are, and those styles could be like, not necessarily not be able to take accountability, but not ready to hear it out loud, especially from someone that they feel so invalidated by. And it has nothing to do with security. Like, when I tell people, like, I would like to share my life with somebody and grow old with somebody to have this stability, people are so quick to say, oh, you should love yourself. I absolutely love myself. I absolutely know what I bring to the table, but I should be allowed to be able to have the feeling of sharing it with somebody without seeming apologetic. And I feel like we live in such a society, even as women, that we're supposed to be highlighted real, to be so independent. Why can't we be independent and still want someone to put our hair down for, put our bags down for, and settle down and let someone else lead us without being judged and saying we're going back into old times? I want a man to lead me. It has nothing to do with my security, right? And so I feel like just all those things play a role, when we're talking about attachment styles. I think it all just, like, it goes into one bubble to another, and it's all part of that, like, ongoing healing. I'm sorry.
I just love your responses.
So if y'all are just pulling up, that's okay.
I love this for us.
You guys can find us here every Saturday.
I am loving this whole vibe, though, with the ladies. I know Ariah's supposed to be here, but it's okay. We held it down without you, sir.
That's right. We just discussed what's your attachment style. Can you identify any specific experiences from your childhood that shaped your current, and how does your attachment styles affect your ability to trust and open up in romantic relationships? But now I want to know about something specific. Avoidant and dismissive attachment style individuals with an avoidant dismissive attachment style tend to be emotionally distant and valorize independence. They prioritize self-reliance and may have difficulty opening up emotionally in relationships. They might often feel uncomfortable with intimacy and have trouble trusting others. People with this attachment style may come across as emotionally distant or even aloof and tend to keep relationships at a distance. So the next question is,
how does your attachment style influence your expectations of how others should behave or respond to your emotional needs?
As of now, it's because it took me a long time, and I won't take credit that it's always been that way. As of now, I think it's just being more conscious. I don't even know if that's the word. I'm more in practice of being like I was just stating, I know what I want. And being vulnerable to tell somebody, I have absolutely no issue saying that I would love a man to lead me, a good man that's going to lead us and hold our home down and hold me down, and be able to sit there and say, but I still choose to have my PowerPoints of knowing that I can bring everything, if not more, to sustain our, our home, our teamship, or whatever you want to call that. It has nothing to do with that. And so I feel like that attachment style can also bite me in the butt sometimes, because I also am a firm believer that if you want to be in a good, and like I said, this is just my opinion, y'all. If I want it, for me, I've grown, like, being a spiritual person that I am, and being who I am, of being like, I want the person that I'm with, for him to feel like I respect him and trust him enough to lead us. And how important that is when you are with an actual strong minded, willed man, that he needs that. And it's not to say that you have to diminish or water yourself down, that you can have a transparent moment of like, I'm tired of being the boss today, like, I want to just sit here and be like, this is what we're doing. I want you to treat me with such love and compassion, but put me in my place when I need to. Like, we're not doing this today. And not feel like, so if I would talk about my attachment style, like I said, I'm still playing with it. I'm still learning to allow that space, because and like, it's more not necessarily within me, but accepting of that there is other viewpoints and people are dealing with their own stuff. But if we allow it, it'll pierce into ours, because somebody can hear what I just say, come into the middle of the conversation, and assume that I'm just trying to play Susie Homemaker, and that is not what's going on. And realize that that's their thing, and that's okay. Like, that's their opinion. That's what they want to do or don't want to do, and it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry.
I think this part of growth and just communication and interaction, I'm not really touching on that right now. Um, Reason being is because I stopped telling people or men what type of person I was looking for. And a few people thought that I was crazy, but hear me out. If I sit and I give you a list of everything that I'm looking for, right? Or a list of pet peeves, a little indicator or a flashlight or a red light is going to pop up in their head like, oh my God, she don't like that. I can't do that. Or let me not say that around her because I know that she don't like that and I don't want that. I'm looking for the bare essentials, and I want to see how you naturally treat your woman, right? Because again, you said something earlier where we might write down a list of things where we want these things, and then when we get them, we can't handle them, right? So instead of putting myself there, no, let's hang out. I want to see if you on your own have chivalry in your blood. I want to know if when we go somewhere, do you introduce me before you start speaking to someone and having a conversation and just having me third wheel in the back, like, hey, I'm here. Like, I want to know how mature you are without my instruction or without my input or influence. Because I feel like that's how you genuinely get to know somebody. I'm not going to come in and say, well, Jen, I really don't like red lipstick. That's not my thing. Like, so when you're around me, you better turn it blue. I'm not going to do that. If she likes to wear red lipstick, it might grow on me. I'm so open to change, right? Because the only reason I am, or part of the reason why I am who I am, is because I followed a certain routine or a certain code, or, I've been Dominique. But maybe Dominique can change.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, that dispute over whether your man gets fed first or your kids get fed first. How about I just make all the plates and whoever grab their plate first, grab their plate first? Right? And then no one feels inferior. We all ate together. While I want my man to lead, I also want him to know that I'm capable of following. Because a lot of people, I want this. No. If you are capable of leading, I am capable of listening. And that's just where it's at.
So I'm going to kind of answer the last question because I kind of stayed quiet on that one. I'm going to answer the last question and this question simultaneously. The last question was, can you identify any, or excuse me, how does your attachment style affect your ability to trust and open up in relationships? And then this question, how does your attachment style influence your expectation of how others should behave or respond to your emotional needs? They kind of go hand in hand for me. I think for me, with like that, the anxious attachment, and it comes from past. I know a lot of it comes from like past traumas, and so I know for me, what I needed was someone who, really, a insecure person needs someone who really like is overly like like not explanatory. I'm trying to think of the word I'm thinking of. But like puts my mind at ease. Like puts my mind at ease. Like without even having to ask. Like, and I can say that I had that, like someone who allows you to know, like, you know, everything's good. Like, you know, I don't have to even ask where you're at. Like they just let you know off the grip. You know what I'm saying? Like just that. What is the word I'm looking for?
Just like an emotional security, basically,
Yeah,
like an
like
emotional safety.
yeah, like you explain things without me having to really ask for that. Like you allow me to know, like there's still a word I'm looking for, dang it, and I really cannot think of the word I'm trying to say, but um what is the word I'm looking for? Like you just put my mind at ease. Like without me having to, there's a word, dang it. There's a word.
Reliable?
No. Like you put my mind at ease.
Dependent?
No. No, that's not it either. See, I lost it. I lost the whole word.
It's okay. We'll come to it. It'll come to us. But I know what you mean.
Like you're just
You think about it.
an explanatory person. You just explain yourself. Why can nobody think of the freaking word? I cannot think of it. But you know, I just know that like for me,
Is it expressive?
no, that's not it. That's not it. But my expectations I know are higher because of things that I've been through. I know like my expectations were higher. Like I knew what I had already been through and that I needed someone who made me feel more secure.
And were you open about that off the back?
Say that again.
Were you open about that need right off the back? Or do you feel that you found within all that, like the transparency and the security to say that?
Yeah, oh yeah. And I think like, well, especially he knows me, so he knows like that's for me what I need. Like I know like to have someone who just gives me that. You know, even in moments when I feel like okay, I'm feeling anxious, it'd be like you got this, you're okay. You know, even just moments like that, you know, just make you like you know, putting my mind at ease is like that for me is everything because I'm an overthinker, chronic overthinker. So just even moments of like okay, you got this, we're good, like you're good, we're good, like just those moments even help a lot. Like I know for me, like trust is a really hard thing for me to just give to anyone. I don't just give it out, and that's something because I used to give it so openly without making someone earn that. And I think it made me kind of give for him a harder way to go because he was doing like you said earlier, and it kind of hit home for me when you said like they were giving everything, but you still felt okay, where's the other shoe gonna fall? And for me, I was always looking for the red flag. And I had heard this quote, it was Ace Metaphor, and he said, stop looking for the red flags and start looking for the green lights. And it was like, stop it. You looking for the bad is only gonna get bad. Like, stop looking for the bad stuff and just start seeing all the things that are the green lights. That means, okay, I can still proceed. Okay, he's doing that right. I can proceed. He's doing that. I can proceed. And for me, that meant a lot because always looking for the red flags. It really just, like, fed that anxiety. Like, the more I, like, worried about the bad things, even, like, I have moments now, and it's not even, like, in my relationship, but, like, even in friendships where I start, like, oh, well, this, oh, yeah, you know, that negative mindset. And I've had to really like set myself down like okay, we gotta stop that. Like if whatever's going to happen, I cannot stop it from happening. If something bad is going to happen, it's going to happen no matter how bad I think about it. It's like when you worry about something, you actually put yourself through it twice. And I have to, like, even now I'm reminding myself, like, stop worrying. You only worry about the things you can control, because if you worry about the stuff you can't control, you're just really putting yourself through it 2 times. So now I'm worrying about it, putting myself through the anxiety, and then it might never happen. So now I've done put myself through it for no reason. So it's like just having that person who just is like, okay, you got this, and having that positive, like the opposite. And that's why it's like that yin and yang. Like having that person who is the opposite of that mindset is everything.
Well, it's like Queen was saying, also not necessarily highlighting. I mean, yes, you should be conscious of what you want and bring and need in the table. But I feel like when we put so much emphasis on a list, we're creating an unrealistic expectation. And I'm a firm believer that we attract that energy. It's like, I did this study for one of my class recently, and I'm like, if you ever like collect something and you find that you see it everywhere, I'm gonna think of like Honda Civic cars, and like you're gonna see them everywhere. I want this color. All of a sudden they appear. I had one student said, I used to collect playing cards. I'm like that. Like I'll see things like that, and I'll just start playing, getting my way home just to kill time. She's like, I look at these playing cards, and all of a sudden I kept finding playing cards all over the city, like walking around. It was weird, and so things like that. And so that being said, allowing the space for the transparency and what was the other word? For someone to be authentic. Because I think that when someone genuinely loves us, I think it comes from a loving place, right? It's not fake, because if they like, it goes back to like when somebody wants and cares about something and a person enough, they will do the work. But I also feel like it also becomes an unrealistic and ends up being resentful expectation for someone that really loves you and is going to go out of their way to make these points, but they're no longer in their authenticity. They're no longer in who they really are. That doesn't mean that it doesn't come from a loving place, right? But it's like, I want to know where the ball drops for you, and to see if we can compliment. Can we figure this out? And I know that you're not perfect. I can see that. That's also going to be a source of nurturing for our relationship. And I think that when we it's good to let someone know, like, I want to know how this makes you feel versus this is how I want you to make me feel, because then you put such an unrealistic expectation. And when it's not met, then there's resentfulness on both ends. It's just the reality of it. And I think that sometimes breaks a lot of romantic relationships, is that unwanted resentment. Thank you for the gift. I appreciate it. So, and I believe that it's really hard to stomach that.
Well, we have one more attachment style, y'all. If you guys are pulling up, you're late. We're a little late anyways, but you're late. It's almost over, y'all. We haven't missed everything though. We just discussed what your attachment style. Can you identify any specific experiences from your childhood that may have shaped your current attachment style? How does your attachment style affect your ability to trust and open up in romantic relationships? How does your attachment style influence your expectation of how others should behave or respond to your emotional needs? But I want to know about patterns. Fearful, avoidant attachment style. That's one of those I said I also have a little bit of in me. Yeah, man. Individuals with a fearful, avoidant attachment style often experience conflicting emotions in relationships. They desire closeness and intimacy, but also fear rejection and abandonment. Consequently, they may struggle with trust and have difficulty maintaining stable relationships. People with a fearful, avoidant attachment style may exhibit a push-pull dynamic, oscillating between seeking and avoiding emotional connection. They may have a history of traumatic experiences that create internal conflict and fear in relationships. So the last question is,
Have you found solace in healing old wounds or redefining your attachment style? Or do you still struggle with patterns from your past?
I don't know if I would necessarily say struggle. I feel like I'm more conscious of them. I'm more conscious of them, so I'm still constantly in a practice to be in the present of what role I choose to allow them to play. but I do feel calm. I feel more collected of saying, like you said, not needing to tell somebody how to treat me, whether that's intimately, friendship wise, carry it as such, with compassion and grace, and not to make hurt anybody, but to decide myself if that's something I want to continue forward in and what aspect. Because now I feel like I've allowed, not putting so much emphasis on it, I feel like I've allowed these people that I've wanted to show me that the space to do it, because it's not so conscious minded. It's not like so much of an expectation. So I have peace in that. But I wouldn't say, but I still feel I'm for myself that it's still in practice to acknowledge that the past doesn't necessarily pierce into it, but it does play a role. Like it's just being conscious of that.
I have not personally found a complete healing in any old wound. And I will go ahead and say that I think it is because I haven't seen that successful arrangement, that successful attachment, right? At least not in a intimate relationship. I think that the pattern that's still affecting me is giving people the benefit of the doubt first instead of doubting the benefits that they actually possess. And that's still on that same realm of, was the macaroni and cheese cooked too long? Is that going to make him leave? Macaroni and cheese is real in Black households. Like internalizing it. Like, even though I can shake it off a lot easier now, I'm still finding a way to blame myself. Even when I know that or even though I felt like I handled it gracefully, I was understanding, I listened to understand and not to respond, all these different facets of it, but it's like, geez, it's the key still doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of resurfaces or reopens those old wounds. Like, did I really do the work? Is the work working? Like I'm still very self-analytical. Like we said earlier, we're still learning, we're still growing, we're still forming. And these attachment styles and approaches can change, right? So I think that all my old wounds and patterns still give me a little fight back. They always kind of come back to humble me or come back to remind me of where I was and how far I've come. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like I'm there yet. And I don't know where there is. I don't know if there even is a there, but I don't feel that it's there, wherever there is.
So I just sent you so much virtual hugs because I feel there's so much grace in you even saying that out loud. And I think it's so hard. I know for me it was really hard to say that without feeling the eyes of judgment of someone assuming that I'm not secure within myself. And hearing you speak and knowing, and I hope that you surround yourself with friends that remind you, I know you're secure, I know you're strong. But to even say that little piercing, because I feel like if we're in the wrong environment, we won't even feel safe saying that out loud. Like I still know that there's a lot of work that can pierce right back in there, a lot of patterns. That necessarily doesn't mean that someone can be like, come and hurt me, because I think in the past that somebody hurt me and I've shared my story, I've allowed some really shitty people, excuse my language, I know it's a future show, of making me feel like, this is why you're acting like this. You're still healing. And like, how dare you? and then being conscious of that now, of realizing. So I just wanted to say that to you because I saw, not to put you on the spot, but I could tell just the way you were saying that, and how even getting that out of being like, I am secure, I know what I bring, but to be honest, it's still an ongoing thing. And I think that, um, that's so hard for people to do that without having the feeling that they feel like they're not owning up, or that they're overall insecure, and it's not the issue whatsoever.
And even like you saying that, like even like kind of like being open about how I know how I am. Like I'm very open and honest about that. But there's still that little bit of insecurity there because I know like I'm a confident person, but there's still those, it's like a trigger, right? When a trauma first happens, right, it's like a box. And when a trauma first happened, your trauma is the ball, right? Your trauma fills the box because it just happened. But as time goes on, right, the trauma, it gets smaller, but there's still that trigger there, right? So this ball is still going around the box, and every so often, even when it gets really small, it could be years later. And this is something that where I say healing is a forever thing, because even though like my traumas have been years ago, there's still moments where that ball, even as small as it is, still hits that trigger. And that's why I know like healing is an ongoing thing for me. I know it is. I'm in therapy. I have no problem saying that. But for me, I definitely still struggle with that. And even there's times where I have to like say, for especially in my relationship, he's not him. Like those are things like I've been through in a past relationship. But it's like when something like might trigger it, like where something someone else might be talking about might even bring that back for me. Like you could be having a conversation where they say, oh, all men do this, and then I'm like, oh, so I'm like, now I'm almost like insecure, like, don't say that, because I know my man don't, so that is, but, and there's that moment of insecurity, like, well, do all men, so it's like, there's like just those little moments where I have to like remind myself, like, I'm not everybody, and I'm not your past, I'm not your past, this is me, and he's him, they were them. Like you have to compartmentalize each thing, right? So it's like, I know I've been here, but I'm here now. So don't look back at where you were, because it's like always looking in the rear view. You can't even drive looking in the rear view mirror, because you're not looking forward. So now you're going to crash into everything that you tried to drive into, because you're still looking back at where you were at before. And that's something, even for me, there's times I crash, but I have to forgive myself for that, because it's that old trigger that's being hit, where it has nothing to do with what's going on now. It's something else I had been through, or whatever the case may be. But I know that I have to keep going with like that healing journey, because if you don't, you can ruin beautiful things. And I'm talking friendships, to relationships, familial relationships. You have to tell yourself, like, this is a new day. So I can't look back at yesterday. I can't look back at that person or that person. I have to look at this person for face value, who they are right now. I can't even look at your past self for who you were or what you did yesterday, because you might have learned your lesson. So today you're a new person. So like for me, that's something I have to like consciously tell myself, okay, like, look, even if like say my friend did something to me yesterday, but we had a conversation. So you have to allow people time to reintroduce yourself into your new boundaries and things like that. That's a huge one for me. Setting boundaries where I never had them before, and then people having to like accept that, because I had none before. So now you have to create, it's like creating new relationships so you can meet the new me and the person who I'm still creating myself to be. So there's definitely times that I struggle, but I definitely like healing those. When you start to overcome those, and like me even creating boundaries, I know as a part of me is healing. When you create boundaries, like that's a part of you healing from something you've been through. But y'all,
Sorry can't be unclosed. I feel like when you said giving people a chance, it's also knowing that when you don't forget, when someone says that you're sorry, like, even as a mom and as a teacher, I always tell my kids, you can absolutely hear someone's apology, but it's in your power to say, I appreciate your apology, but I don't accept it. Yep. Because the moment that I feel like it's very inconsiderate of the other person, whether they deserve your forgiveness is that if we make a conscious choice, if we word it out loud, like I forgive you, to give the genuine compassion and grace to forgive them, because I feel like the moment, because we also have the power to say, I hear your apology, I appreciate it, but I don't accept it, because I feel like it's also I'm like, for me, I'm learning to be conscious of that, of being like, hey, you know what, thanks for your apology, I really do appreciate it, but I don't accept it, it's just maybe not now, maybe not ever. Because I also feel like if we're going to say something, it goes back to like, how much can we tolerate? You can't just sugarcoat everything and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or be that person of like, I lived my life like this because this happened. And then that pattern alone creates attachment styles, and being like, I know for a fact that I don't want somebody, like, if I live my life according to stuff that happened to me, I wouldn't even like tolerate me. So I think it's being
Yeah.
conscious of things like that as well.
Yeah, it's like intent. This is something I heard, and it really kind of
Right.
even reiterated for me. Intent versus impact. Even for me, I have to say this: my intent might have been good, but the impact is I hurt this person, and so even I utilize that in my relationship. Like, okay, now I've hurt them, so now I have to figure out a way to fix it. And the only way you can fix things is not the sorry word. Is kind of like, and I love this about even my partner, because even like the love word, like I was one of those person, love, I love you, I love you. And I think cause like saying it a lot, but the meaning diminishes when you say something over and over, like the word sorry. So it's like, okay, instead of saying sorry, show you're sorry by the intent being positive, and then the impact will be positive too. So if you show with action that you're sorry versus just saying it, it makes a big difference too. And also you had spoke about like I don't have to accept your apology, and this is something even I'm kind of learning at this moment. I don't have to allow someone to even give them a chance to say sorry. I also have the ability to cut people out of my life when I feel
Absolutely.
like your expiration date has come and gone, and now I have the ability to say enough is enough. And that's something I was never able to do. And so I know, like I said, from that there is growth there, and that's where we're gonna come to a close, because y'all, we can keep talking after this, but the growth being growing from the negative, growing from the old wounds, and we always come to a place of healing here on the Red Room, y'all. And with that being said, that place of healing every week, we do have a quote to come to a place of healing every week. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that quote, and I'm gonna let you guys say your outros. But this week's quote is love is not about possession, it is about appreciation. Attachment styles may differ, but understanding and accepting each other's unique way of giving and receiving love can lead to a truthfully fulfilling and harmonious relationship. So just accept each other as we are, learn each other's attachment styles, and it will help for a more harmonious relationship, whether it be romantic, friendship, or familial. Y'all, this has been the Red Room Talk. I definitely appreciate these two beautiful ladies for holding it down, Lord. Definitely appreciate y'all for that, and being here. But I'm going to go ahead and let you guys give your outros. And if y'all want to keep conversating, y'all can do that too. So
I just want to say thank